So we'll open up the meeting, Nantucket Visitor Service Committee, February 20, 2019. This meeting is audio video recorded. We'll get approval of minutes from December 11th.
So, approved?
Second,
Second.
any discussion? Motion carries. And then we will now meet with Barbara Elder with the Nantucket Cultural District Service and Emma Young. I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for inviting us here today to give you an update on the Nantucket Cultural District and how the Nantucket Arts Council has been managing it this past year, what's new, and a little bit of history for some of the new members. I gave you a little printout that has a little bit of information on it. In 2015, we were designated by the state a Nantucket Cultural District. This came about because a committee of citizens met together for about 2 years under the inspiration of the Massachusetts Cultural Council, the state agency, who was suggesting that through the formation of cultural districts throughout the state, we could emphasize the economic benefits of businesses and cultural institutions working together. This looked a lot different in many of the different towns throughout the state. Some districts were in need of revitalization and we're trying to encourage people to come to the downtown areas. Some places were overwhelmed with the amount of cultural institutions that they had in them, and they were trying to put them into a coherent form so that visitors would know what they had. And on Nantucket, we have the unique challenge in that we have fantastic resources in our cultural district. We have a very active Chamber of Commerce, very active visitor center, and we wanted to be able to highlight things that were being done on Nantucket in a manner that brought people together. So the Nantucket Arts Council was given the contract by the town to be the managing entity, a third-party managing entity. We already did a lot of things to promote the arts on Nantucket, but this gave us a new challenge of how to bring together these various organizations to work together to present something that could be marketed statewide. Not only statewide, but nationally. So this past year, just to give you a quick setup of what we've been doing, we have an advisory board that meets 4 times a year, and that is under the auspices of Janet's, your department. And we meet with the Chamber of Commerce and with Remain Nantucket, who has been our main funder. And the Nantucket Arts Council writes grants on behalf of the cultural district and then manages them. So all of the accounting is doing business as under the Nantucket Arts Council, and we have that set up, and our advisory council reviews that information. Also, there's some awarding that comes from the state. Periodically, the state will let us apply and receive money, and that it can also be a matching grant with the town, or the town can initiate that on its own. We have been receiving money from both the town, not the state last year, but before that, the state had given us some money. So that just gives you some foundational information. Any questions about that? Okay. Well, this past year, starting in January, I believe, Emma Young came on board. She replaced Samantha Reese, who was the last person who presented to you about the cultural district. And Emma has taken on the job of maintaining the NCD website, all the social media accounts, which have been awesome. She has also created a bi-monthly newsletter that goes out to anyone who subscribes to it. And you on your town website include the Nantucket Cultural District calendar, which lists all the events that Emma finds and coordinates. We've gotten a pretty smooth experience going of people submitting their information directly to Emma, who then puts it up. We don't include fundraisers, but we include events. So we can't include every single event that goes on at the Historical Association, so we asked them to select it. But I hope you all have some experience in it, and Emma will show that to you a little bit later. In addition to that, this past year we've attended 4 off-island meetings with the state about the cultural district, and Janet's been to some of those as well, representing the town there. And Emma, myself, and Bill Farrell have taken turns going to different ones. So it's interesting to go and to find out what's happening in other places, because as I say, it's very different from the cultural district. The first Spring Art Week was held last year, and it was essentially mandated by the state, pretty much. If you were a cultural district, you had to do a Spring Art Week. And we participated in that. We had the good luck of having our Daffodil Weekend already be the first part of Spring Art Week. So this yellow brochure lists all the various events that we had during Spring Art Week. And you'll notice inside the front cover that we involved 12 businesses. We did displays on of different artists in their windows. We'd like to see that, including about 20 businesses if we can, but that took a fair amount of work. Everything that you see in this brochure takes not only NAC staff time, but it also takes some volunteer time, some real goodwill on people's parts, because we can disrupt their day asking them to put things up in their windows, etc. But we felt that we had good results of this last year. And we did get some compliments. Sue Sullivan, who's one of the main people, has talked with me some about our brochure. We were also a model for Harwich, who called us and talked with me extensively about how we were set up, because they were applying for 2 cultural districts in Harwich. I think they've gotten them, but so it's a nice situation where people across the state are communicating with each other. And then in the fall, we had our Fall Arts Festival, which is annually produced by the Nantucket Arts Council. We really tried to put emphasis on being the cultural district. So this is on John Rockefeller's pencil cover here. You'll see the events that are listed for the Nantucket Arts Festival. This has been produced for many years by, about 35 years, by the Nantucket Arts Council. And now we're trying to be inclusive with the cultural district in terms of sharing as much information, getting that up not only on the Arts Council website, but on the cultural district website, and trying to get a lot of social media and energy flowing around these festivals, with the goal being to show that arts and culture can help communities and be profitable economically. And lastly, our plan is to activate more businesses and cultural institutions this next Spring Arts Week. And if we go from 12 up to 20, we'd be very happy. We would love to be able to see some financial support flow along with that, but we haven't quite gotten to that point. We're going to see if we can this spring. So I'd like to turn over to Emma, who has the more interesting part of the presentation. She'll be showing you some things up on the screen here, which is a lot of the work that she does, and she does this all off of her laptop and works very hard at it.
Can everyone see okay? Or do you want to? give them to the chair.
So my name's Emilia, if you don't know me, and like Barbara said, I've been with the cultural district for just over a year now. So this is just kind of a synopsis of some of the things that I've been working on. Our main piece is the website that I didn't develop originally, but I've maintained since I've been here. We've added a box for district news, which we talk about upcoming events. The arts festivals, we'll put the dates in. When July 4th was coming up, we had a big bold link to the Department of Culture and Tourism site so that people could make sure they were getting that information. We have a newsletter sign up right on our front page that we've been hoping to get encouraging people to sign up for more than we have in the past. And then there's the calendar page, which I put a lot of my most energy into updating that and keeping that fresh. So we hope to see that being a valuable resource for people. And I'll just, oh no. Why you think that not response?
I have your website here, if that's helpful.
Yeah, I mean.
Okay.
Is that your?
I'll just keep going. Okay. So the social media is another big part of it, and that's how we've been trying to reach people and keep people aware that the cultural district exists, a lot of events are going on, kind of trying to partner with other people going on. Most of that goes on through Instagram, and then I'm able to send the same posts on to Facebook and Twitter, and you can see the handles up there. So Nantucket _cultural_district is Instagram. Nantucket Cultural District is Facebook, and Twitter is @cultural. Let's see if he says. Sure. So this is the online version of our Instagram page, and I try to maintain to get about at least 50% of the images original, so pictures that I've taken, and then some of them are just screenshots of events happening, tagging the institutions involved, and we've gotten a pretty good response. We get about 1 or 2 new followers each day, which is pretty awesome, and we have about 751 right now. I also use the stories a lot on Instagram. Sorry, that disappeared. Which, if you're not familiar with, it's kind of a short, it's not a post that stays up forever, it's just a 24-hour. And these are some saved ones. So, I don't think you can see them on the desktop. But they just kind of slide through like a slideshow presentation. And I like to do, what's happening today, list some of the events, or just really current things that are going on. And then our Facebook page, the posts come directly from those Instagram posts, so it's a lot of photographs, which is nice, because I think that always gets people stopping and looking. And then I'll also do, I will also do.
So that's great. Does that just pop up right when you're on the page normally?
I think if you're not logged into Facebook.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. But so I also reblog events or repost events that are going on. Dreamland posted about Peter Pan, so I reposted that, put a little caption for it, so hopefully more people are seeing that. So a lot of it is just engaging with the cultural institutions that are around town. They're doing the grunt of the work putting on the events, but we're sharing them and getting them out there. So go ahead and like that page if you're not already, but we have 610 people have like that page. And then sometimes I'll go, you guys are probably all familiar with the Nantucket Year Round community page on Facebook. If you're not, it's people in the Nantucket community talking about whatever they want, but I'll go on there sometimes. I went on a couple days ago because usually I try to avoid it, but I went on and there were some people saying like, what do you guys do in the winter? I'm really bored. And I just posted in the comments, NantucketCulturalDistrict.org. The link pops up that they can go to, and I say we have a great calendar with all the events going on in the cultural district. So just to get people to know that it's there is kind of what I see as one of the goals for myself. And then we have a Twitter page as well. Obviously, I need to update that cover photo. But again, that's just the post coming straight from Instagram, and it's great because it already it tags everyone in it already if they're tagged on the Instagram post, and you can also get directly back to the Facebook from there too with any posts about the Facebook page.
May I ask you a question? I'm just curious, how many people are on Facebook who are on this committee? And how many people go on Instagram? Okay.
Twitter.
And how many people go on Twitter? Okay, so that's nice to know that there's, so I hope you all like it, so give us some feedback.
So a relatively new project I think I started in the spring is doing a newsletter which goes out every 2 weeks. I try to get it out Thursday evening or Friday morning, and it's got the next 2 weeks events, just a listing of what's straight from the calendar. Those go out through our website, which is Wix, which is really great. We have 115 contacts, so that's people that have filled in the newsletter sign-up box, or the people we've added manually. I've added all the executive directors for the district, cultural district partner organizations. And I try to link that onto the Facebook. So an example, I don't know. Oh yeah. So this is the latest one I sent out. This went out on the 14th. And it's just a listing of the dates and what's happening, the time, and where it's happening. And so you just get an idea. It's kind of nice to look at the whole thing, and for people that are like, there's nothing going on here. There's actually a ton of stuff going on. And then there's links below to get directly to that calendar, which it won't let us see, which is fine. And then I just put the July one here to see the contrast of how many, I mean, this one just went on and on and on. It's the first week of August too, so a busy time, but there was a lot going on. And then sometimes I'll do a little spotlight down the bottom because there were just like a significant amount of places having concerts, and I wanted to emphasize that for all the, there were so many different organizations and churches, the visitor center at Children's, Dreamland, and the music center were all doing concerts in that 2 week period. So I thought that was good to emphasize.
And is there a way we can link that to our webpage?
So this, where it says children, the whole newsletter in general, I'm not sure. I can look into it because I know I can share it as a link on Facebook. But I try to link to this site. So this one went right to that page about those concerts. Another new task, which we've been talking about for a while, is these stickers we have that say Nantucket Cultural District. And so I've been just keeping them in my pocket, and when I walk around town, I give them out to, I started with most of the cultural institutions, but we want to get them to businesses, really any storefront that's in the district. So you can see some of the locations that I've given them to so far. You might have seen at the Dreamland, they have one up in their little outside ticket booth, and the Handlebar has one right on their door. So we're hoping that by giving those out, people will put them up on their windows. They're the kind where they stick to the glass so that you can see them from the outside, which is really nice. So hopefully we'll see those around town.
And if we could just pause there for
Yeah.
just 1 second, the state is really big on signage. And Janet worked, trying to figure out if we could get signage up on, around town, because they wanted it to be on street signs. And do you remember this back in June? I
Yeah,
think
they
it
said, no
was?
way.
Yeah, the town said no, and we weren't the only town. People didn't like the signs. So the Mass Cultural Council was going back and trying to sort of regroup and figure that out. But for some districts, the signage is the thing. Like, they really want to have very definitive signs. I'm not sure that's quite our need on Nantucket, but we do want to have some branding for the cultural district. The other thing I wanted to point out is that this calendar and this website is dedicated to the cultural district, which means people who are within this geographic area. And when it comes to the arts festival, we'll include an art week, we'll include anyone, we'll call them our partners if they're not directly in the cultural district. So we'll include this, but it's not the same type of calendar that, for instance, Mandat Town does, which has events all over the entire island all the time. We focus in on specifically the cultural district, so I wanted to make sure that's separate.
And then the last piece, we just wanted to show you, we will be able to go to this, but we've been using Slack for our communications when we're doing the arts festival. And hopefully I can show you.
Does anyone else use Slack for?
So we're still kind of learning it, but it's basically a chat forum. So this was for the last fall arts festival we did, and it's got everyone who was involved in any of that planning and going on. And then we would say, update, this is what I found out about this. And it's really great. You can add files. So we have, these are the ads that we've got so far. Take a look and let me know how those are working. And we could say, oh, that one's not really working that well. So it was a good platform for us to stay connected when we couldn't have in-person meetings. And we've got one going for the next spring art week already, because we're already cooking away on that.
Can you ask a question just because I'm newer? So is the Arts Week, is it held every year on the same dates, or do you try and coincide with Daffodil?
The Arts Week comes directly from the state
Oh,
and through the Box Center in Boston.
The
So they
spring
pick
one.
those dates,
Gotcha.
and this is the second year they've asked all of the cultural districts to be involved, and the dates have been the same.
Gotcha.
So they coincide with Daffodil Weekend, which works really well for
Gotcha,
us.
but it's a state.
But yeah, that's just their choice.
The thing that we found interesting about it last year was that, Daffodil Weekend is so huge, and then the next week was nothing. So this helps us in terms of trying to create some energy.
Yeah.
And maybe encourage people to stay longer, or, have other activities to do throughout the week. And since it was new last year, we don't really have enough statistics to prove that.
Okay.
However, I will say for the Fall Arts Festival, we are starting to see a difference in the amount of people. Some people contact us and say they're coming. They want to make sure they're going to be here during that week.
Right.
So that's interesting. And since they're both sort of on the, right on the hip of the seasons, it's a nice time for the arts organizations because there's a little less pressure than when it's the middle of the summer. Like if there was a art week in the middle of summer, I don't know what everyone can do. And it'd be hard to have recognition for that because everyone's already so busy. So this sort of is a nicer time to highlight. I think we aggregate the things from all the different organizations, and some organizations plan around the week too, make sure they have more interesting things going.
Any other questions?
Is this time for general comments or
Yeah.
specifically? Okay. First of all, I want to say I'm really impressed by what you've done here. And I'm looking at this from the perspective of a non-youthful segment of the population that says, what I see here is the possibility of this aggregating everything I want to know the same way that Man About Town does. And this is, building upon rather than invading your wonderful way of keeping track of what's going on. And it seems to me that this really has an enormous potential in several domains. One would be people who come over on the ferry, where if there was some, and I'm just thinking out loud here, some way to say, while you're here, and you're thinking about what you're going to do, saying what's going on, if were some way on the ferry to say, well, why don't you sign up for this website, which will then feed you information, and perhaps not every 2 weeks, but some other one that just says, if you're saying you really want to sign up, what we're going to do is we're going to give you immediately the blast of what's going on for the next 2 weeks, whatever the current one is. That seems to me to be an enormous market that you get to. The second is the realtors who give out a package to people who are having summer rentals or seasonal rentals, just saying, if you want to just have a one-stop shopping, what's going on in town, in addition to Man About Town, this will tell you what's going on the next 2 weeks. And the third is, and I'm speaking now as co-president of the Civic League, we have about 25 neighborhood associations, and while we cannot communicate with each member of each association, we can communicate with the presidents of each of the 25 associations, and we can bring to their attention the fact that this might be a newsletter that you want to sign up for. We don't send out a whole lot of emails like that, but what we could do is possibly send it out and say, this is a unique way to keep apprised of what's going on in the cultural district, just so you can have a passive look at it and say, well, maybe I want to go to some of these events, or for people who are only here seasonally, maybe I want to go there that weekend or that week because there's a lot going on. So we could be a big force multiplier. I frankly had no knowledge that such a website existed, but when I go home, I'm going to sign up for it. And that would be a newsletter. Is the newsletter the only thing you could sign up for, or is there a?
Right now, the newsletter is the only thing. We've looked into a little bit, like a calendar app you could have on your phone. With Gene, I'm not sure if you have that with the calendar whiz.
Yep.
But we thought about that for a little bit, where people could have the events. Like personally, I have the events on my own Google calendar on my phone, which is really convenient because I look at it all the time. But just the newsletter goes to your email, and that's just a list. So it's only every 2 weeks.
So the newsletter would give me every 2 weeks a list of what's going on, but not a whole lot of other stuff. It would be just what I'm talking about, just saying, tell me what's going on. I can scan down the list and say, I definitely want to do that. I want to do that, but I don't want to read articles.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay, so this would be the place to go. Okay.
And did the Highline have a concierge? Is that what they told us?
They
When they were
going
here?
to do it for the summer.
The Highline during the summer has a concierge?
On
to
busy
get-
weekends,
on
I
busy
feel like.
weekends to get
It's a pilot
information.
program.
Pardon me?
It's a pilot program they're doing last year.
Pilot, yes.
Well,
You mean
visitors-
right down at the dock?
On the boat, like
On the
walking
boat.
around.
Oh, on the boat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's
that,
interesting.
Yeah, well, I think those are great suggestions for the Civic League and the real estate agents as well.
And I'll be happy to follow up just operationally if I'm Peter Morrison. If you just send me an email and just say, this is the thing you'd want to bring to the attention of your 25 neighborhood associations, I'll run that by our executive committee, or at least we'll just make a decision about this is one of the things we want to send out, and suggest that you forward this on to your members.
Yeah, that would be excellent.
One of the, at our last advisory meeting that we had discussed is we wanted to come up with a card that you could set out places that had on the website and said that it was a calendar of events on it. So, put that down the high line or where people could just pick it up and look at it and see.
Yeah, that might be the easy way to do it. Just have something you hand out and say, if you're coming to Nantucket and you want to know what's going on, this is this is the thing to go to.
Honestly, even just for me, I would keep them in my pocket. The number of people that are like, "Oh, I didn't know that concert was happening," and I'm like, "It's on the cultural district. You should check out the calendar." Like, I'm going to events all the time and people don't know about them. So I'd love to have something I can just be like, "Please look at this calendar," and then like tell me which ones you want to go to, and I'll come with you.
That would be helpful for the hotels too, because we've got such limited space. If we have little cards we could put out, especially even if it just had maybe on the back the date of just the specific those 2 weeks for the year.
Just a business card
Correct.
size,
Yeah. That would be great.
What if it's an odd size? Is that better or should it be business card size?
I think as long as it's smaller than, necessarily a brochure, that our guests can just pick up, and if they want to throw it in their pocket and their, what have you. An awful lot of the guests do use mobile, so it would be great to have, the feeds on there too. Just the list of them.
It needs to have the headline, "What's going on Nantucket?" Anything that gets that and gets you to sign up. I mean, I don't know if you have anything to say about you obviously have experience with how people stay informed. The only thing I know what's going on is through Man About Town, and that's probably just an accident of, my generation. But you need to bump into something and sort of grab onto it like a baby scallop and say, well, at least I've got some channel that's telling me what's going on, or read the Inky,
Right. Well, I think we would probably say what's going on in the cultural district.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, you can call it the cultural district, but I think of it as downtown. But that's really the way it's got to be done, and it's got to be delivered in a way that people just say, yeah, I'll click that on.
I know for us at the store, at the rooms, we are such, for lack of a better word, snobs about materials on the counter. But a tasteful, like, business card size is something that we could probably do. Like, we don't do things on the windows, we don't do brochures and stuff, but like just a nice, tasteful card. And I think a lot of businesses downtown would do that as well.
Great, thank you. That's really good feedback. It's nice to have more people giving input.
I think business card size is the way to go. And I would be we know what the cultural district is, but I think the question is, please visit the cultural district. Do you know what it is? And it might intrigue them. We know what it is, but I don't think the average visitor does.
And
So there's your brand recognition of what it is.
and the logo's cool. So just like that logo on a white business card with the back having more information on it, and the
That would be
logo's
great.
cool.
Okay.
Just one other thing, so for our week, I noticed it's all, businesses that would have display windows, which I understand completely. Again, perhaps with some of the hotels and the inns, it would be lovely for us to be able to participate, because we actually could feature right in our entryway an artist's picture for that, and you can be able to focus on the fact that that is going on downtown. We do have quite a few guests coming back and forth, so it would just reach out to us. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah, how do you get on that list?
Well, we did send out letters to all the businesses we had the Chamber of Commerce last year.
Okay.
And we did send out an email letter and a hard copy to everyone. And you know what it's like.
I know.
It's like, okay, here's another thing. So I feel like the more energy we keep creating, thank you for your suggestions.
I would say Jamie, so the Lodging Association, he can send out a blast just to all the owners of the Lodging Association. Since he does not do that often, we actually do need it.
And NARAB too. That covers all your real estate.
Okay. I don't know. Okay.
I can give you NARAB information.
Come on, Barbara and I failed to identify everybody here. Do you know everyone, or Or they work?
I do now, yes, I do.
I'm so sorry.
Does Emma know?
Epic fail.
For the most part, yeah.
And everyone knows Emma? Yeah. Mhm. Okay. Any other questions or?
This calendar for this coming year, do you get your information from the chamber mostly?
For the
Or
arts
from
week,
Jean, or, you know, how does the information for this particular,
for arts week specifically.
yeah,
So around this time, I'll send out a letter to the district partners, so the organizations that are within the district, and I'll say, whatever you're planning for this week, or would you mind planning a specific art focused event for this? And I'll follow up with them, and then whatever else is on the calendar already. So, there's weekly knitting at the Athenaeum on Wednesdays that might go on. The Culinary Center might be doing a daffodil dinner that will go on. Just whatever I already find that's on the calendar.
I just want to say one thing about the state and Art Week, because they're very clear about what should be in Art Week and what shouldn't.
Mhm.
And anything that is in Art Week is supposed to have sort of an effervescent aspect to it that emphasizes why the arts and culture are important. So, for instance, many of the events in here, some of the larger ones by the institutions, are ones that people were planning back in September. That we, for instance, the Arts Council knew when this was gonna be, so we contracted the Black Eagle Jazz Band to be here on the Sunday of Arts Week, of Daffodil Weekend. And the Music Center is gonna have a concert. So I mean, it's, for some organizations, it's pretty long-range planning. And so, and they're figuring out, and, the theater companies are figuring out how to make that work. Some of the other things are aggregating something that might already exist, but our goal is to make sure it has that effervescent aspect to it. It can't just be an event, in other words. And they're pretty clear about that.
I'm in charge of publicity for the flower show, so
Oh,
I'm
yes.
happy to see that.
Well,
Obviously, this is 45 years, I think,
We
we know what
Jill
we're doing.
Sandoli works in our
Exactly.
office, so she's
Exactly.
all over that.
So we'll make sure that basically everything in here just changed from 44 to 45 and we're good.
Yeah, I actually saw that it was already up on the Garden
Yeah.
Center website, so
Yeah.
I was gonna jump on that.
Thank you.
So
I do that. So.
It's excellent.
But no, I think that's, for this Arts Week, obviously, personally, I think it's wonderful that we are including events that aren't necessarily in the district, because that's obviously why people are here too. Those dates, yeah.
I think the hardest thing when this district was being formed was that geographic footprint, right?
Mm.
We had a really hard time with that. Because it seemed to, exclude some things like the African American Meeting House. It's like, what? Why can't that be in there? So that's why we loosely use it. It's very porous. We use the terms partners, but we'll make sure everyone's.
We had these at the flower show last year for people to pick up that were staying on, thanks to Jill.
Thank you very much for inviting us.
Thanks. Other questions? Thank you. It was a great
Thank you.
meeting.
Yeah.
She's doing a great job.
You're doing an awesome job, Emma. I'll find out what Slack is.
It's a bit confusing, but it's pretty helpful. Even for something like this, where everyone gets on it, and you can say, when's the next meeting, and everyone will get a notification.
Yeah, it's like a bulletin board. It's like you're in the room that you can keep throwing things up there and everyone can see it. And then you can send each other messages too. A lot of tech places use it. It's like,
Thank you. Any other questions or move on to the next? And you're welcome to stay for the meeting, or you can leave if so. But I thank you for. Thank you. Oh, when will the new brochures come out for the spring of 2019?
Which ones? For the Spring Arts Week?
Yes.
They'll probably get here like 2 weeks before the festival. We'll be up on all the calendars,
Okay,
but the actual brochures.
okay.
Oh, and did we mention that David did the original map that
I
said?
was gonna ask you that.
Yeah, I wanna make sure he gets credit for that.
Thank you.
Just tell me how to link to these things, and then I'll pass them out. Okay.
Thanks very much.
If you don't want any of the papers, I'll take them back. I just hate to see them get thrown out. Because I can, okay, I can save them. for other- I know. You want me to collect them? No, you want to keep them? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye, Barbara, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Director's update?
Yes, I'm sure that all of you have heard about One Book, One Island that's coming around, and the Office of Culture and Tourism has been involved with the planning of that. This year, my particular task, because I wasn't gonna be around in January, in December, I set up this coffee crawl thing. So it's a little passport along the lines of the whole idea behind the cultural district to connect cultural activity with businesses. So I got 9 coffee shops to agree to give a 10% discount. You take your passport, they stamp it, and then you submit your passport at the end for a drawing. And I got a $25 gift card from each of the coffee shops that's participating. So these are at the coffee shops, and I brought a few today. And so, and they've all been very excited about participating because it's getting people through the door in February and March. So the drawing will be at our closing event on March 10th at the Whaling Museum, and you do not have to be present to win. And there are a bunch of other things going on that week between March 3rd and March 1st and March 10th as well. And there are posters up all over the place, and the calendar is on the Athenaeum's website. David and I have been working with Mark Millette from Comet Water Company to identify locations for outdoor water fountains around the downtown area because of the pending ban on single-use plastic water bottles that will come around in 2020. So we're doing a promotion with Remain Nantucket to distribute some water bottles at the 4th of July and to have these water stations set up. We were going to delay it, but Libby pushed to have us do it as soon as possible. So probably one near the Whaling Station, one near the cab stand at the Pacific Club, one up on Main Street by the Pocket Park at Fair Street. And then there's a water fountain next to our building that we're going to have revived as a site too. And there's some talk about putting one out in Sconset as well, though that's not on the list at the moment. And then the other activity that I've been focused on is Herman Melville's 200th birthday is August 1st, which is also Mariah Mitchell's 201st birthday this year. And the Essex sailed on August 18th or 19th in 2019. So there's going to be a community-wide celebration of Melville's 200th birthday, broadly including anything whale-related, or Essex related or Moby Dick related. So I met with several cultural organizations last Thursday, and we came up with a bunch of activities that we're going to be putting on between Memorial Day and Columbus Day, ending up with another Moby Dick marathon meeting in November. Among those things include music, a self-guided walking tour related to the Essex. There will be several events at the NHA. But the cool thing that we came up with was this, you know how in some towns they have like a chair here and a chair there, or a cow here and a cow there, and you go around and take your picture with a cow and you submit your pictures. Well, we're going to do lecterns or podiums with several pages, laminated pages from different parts of Moby Dick at 10 different sites around the island. So anybody can walk up and read. And the idea is they'll take a picture, post it to Facebook, and then we can enter them into a contest. So we've got everything from and it will draw people to these cultural organizations as well. So, for example, the Artists Association is going to put on a Melville-themed art show sometime in July, I believe, and they've decided that they want to take the chapter that talks about the color white. So they'll do some pages from that so people can just go up and read it. So we're going to have these pop-up Moby Dick reading stations around town. And they're also going, and those are going to be built at the NHA. And the high school shop class is going to build a whale, and they're going to cut it in pieces and put part of the whale on each one of these podiums, so you don't really know that it's a whale until you take all your pictures and put them all together. And you see that. And then at the Moby Dick Marathon reading in November, we'll have all the podiums together on the stage, so you can see that it was a big whale thing. And we'll put together a brochure for that, and we're getting a logo designed at the present time as well. So I will have more information about that as we go along. And that's really because I'm still only really part-time until I get the doctor's okay to go back full-time, where I've been focusing my energies. Any questions?
Can you repeat Melville's birthday?
August 1st.
March.
August 1st.
August 1st.
And I think we're gonna have Melville appear at Mariah Mitchell's birthday party on Vestal Street that day too. As soon as we find someone to play the role, but.
Anything else? I didn't introduce anybody when Barbara Elder and Emma was here. Okay, visitor service coordinator, David.
Okay, I put in the packet, the stats for the fourth quarter of 2018.
He's gonna talk about
And
that.
pretty much straightforward. Then also included a bar graph to kind of show the last 5 years for that quarter. And also at the, since it was the end of the year, I included the yearly stats for the last 25 years. And then included the January stats as well. I wanted to point out with the January stats, the electronic downloads for the TNL. As you can tell, before I go into the actual brochure, the old brochure, the 2018, was up through the 24th of January, and there were 350 downloads of that. And then once the new one was posted, there were 132 of that. And on the first day, 53 were downloaded. So people must have some way of knowing that they're out there. So they put that out there. So anyway, I also wanted to point out that our new travel lodging brochure is out, and you have a copy on your in your packet. The pictures of the original Nantucket lightship, the oldest of the three existing Nantucket lightships. This one is tied up in East Boston as part of a lightship museum that is an aspiring lightship museum that they're trying to build. But it's I don't think we've ever put the lightship on the cover before, so it is quite different. So anyway, the brochure is here, and we have plenty at the office. If you need anything, any more of them, let me know, and I can bring them to you. And that's all I have too. So anybody have any questions?
We've just been doing some analytics on the website and just to see where people are visiting when they come to our website. And we discovered that the most visited or most downloaded item on our website is the restaurant list that David puts together each week.
And thank you, Gene, too. So, yeah, because the restaurant, I went back for the last year for what was being downloaded in addition to the TNLs, but the restaurant list had been downloaded 23,107 times in 2018. And during the month of January, it was 1,921. So that's, people are hungry.
First thing they ask in the taxi, where should we go to eat?
Yeah.
And what do you do while yes. Then that's exactly right. Exactly.
Well, that tells you that Nantucket is envisioned as a culinary destination. And which leads me to my suggestion that our wonderful map maker, David, might consider in the future making a map of something that picks up that theme. I once saw a map in Reykjavik, Iceland, that bragged about Reykjavik as a culinary destination, and in fact, I discovered that it is. It's a great concept to sell when you think about it, that you come here because you really want to eat a lot of really great food.
And we're talking about further enhancements to the website because we're starting to view it as our electronic information aid as fewer people come in and they're accessing information. So you all know that 25% of the questions we get in the summer is, where do I get the Cisco van? We're probably going to put something on the website about where you get the Cisco van. And put some of our maps up there too that we've been developing over time for folks to download and for planning before they get here as well. So
I'm not very savvy, but these barcodes, how do you just scan them on your phone?
yeah, you get a QR code app.
So what do you like go to Safari and then do it, or how does it work?
You download an app, there's all different kinds of
Okay.
QR code apps.
Gotcha,
And
okay.
then you literally just take it and you quickly scan it and it's
Very fancy.
Yeah, so that will have, one of them has the water filling stations indoors. Now we'll add the outdoor ones to that when those are done. And the other one is got all the new recycling information
That's
on it
crazy.
too. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Anything else anybody wants to add? I do have one thing. I would like to add one of our meetings to talk about the Christmas lights, the tour that we didn't do this year. Because it's the first time since we changed the 4th of July fireworks that people have actually reached out and had concerns about it, that we didn't have it. And I was really surprised because I didn't think people really know that I'm even on visitor service after 20 years. But my husband decorates our yard, but he never puts it on. He doesn't want to put it on any list. He just does it because he enjoys it. Word of mouth, everybody comes up to see his decorations. And people were asking for the list, and they said, we called visitor service and they're not doing it anymore. And that's how it started. And this was last week, the 8th person, because I was counting, as it was just a couple, all right. But the 8th person was talking with me at Stop and Shop and said, I brought my grandson up to your house at Christmas time. I said, oh, that's nice. And they're not doing the lighting, the tour anymore. And that's what we look forward to when he comes down. And I'd like just to put it on the agenda, whether we continue with it.
I kind of just want to distinguish, it wasn't that we totally stopped it, we just didn't do it this year to reevaluate it.
Well,
Consider
that
what we
information
can
didn't
do
really go out.
differently
We
for
didn't-
next season,
well,
you know.
but David, we didn't know until, I mean, it wasn't anything that was discussed. You just made the decision and it was done. And I just would like it to be somewhere put on there.
I think we have to find a way to, it's a very labor intensive effort to recruit people to, like your husband doesn't want to be on the list, to recruit people to be on the list and then to go around with the judges and all of that. I mean, I'm willing to say we can put together a map of where these places are, but I don't think that the contest itself is generating enough interest because we have the same 15, 16 houses each year and the same people are winning the prize each year. So I'm not sure that there's much value or what it does. People like to know where the houses are, but I don't see the value of maintaining the contest.
I don't think they have to receive a prize. I just think it's a wonderful after dark activity with kids to drive around. So maybe the map and let people say, I want to be on it.
That's why I
Because
thought we should have a discussion.
I think that's fun. You know, it's something you do in the evening and whatever.
And one of the
especially with
ladies
kids.
that talked to me about it in the taxi said didn't know I was on visitor service, and she said we start with the lighting of the Christmas tree, and then when strolls over, then I look forward to just driving around. And there was an older lady too, actually, and she said I look forward to driving around and getting the map and
That's like a
looking
good
at it.
grandkid,
So,
I feel like.
anyways, there was a lot of people that came up to me, and I was surprised. So
We didn't
I feel
start
it's my
getting
obligation
requests
to-
for the map until like a few days before Christmas, people started coming in.
Well, that's what they said.
It was at Christmas to New Year's where people have things to, they have time to look and think about it.
So could we put it on the agenda and talk about it, please? Thank you.
Sure.
All right, anything else? Anyone wants to? Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.